Not of the markets. Not of the pound. The collapse of government itself. In gilded, decaying corridors of power, the people supposedly running this country proved they are no longer fit to manage a village fate, let alone the world's sixth largest economy. The air in Whitehall is thick with the stench of failure, a palpable sense of an ending. They were handed a lifeline, a rare chance to deliver a sliver of good news in a vast sea of their own failures. A chance to give the British people a single day of relief. And they didn't just drop it. They strangled it, set it on fire, and threw the ashes in our faces. What we witnessed was not a simple mistake. It was a symptom of a terminal disease, a political class so broken, so utterly consumed by its own incompetence, that it has become a clear and present danger to our national stability. It reveals a void at the heart of our state. And it forces us to ask a terrifying question: if this is how they handle good news, what in God's name will they do when a real crisis knocks? The papers and the pundits in their London studios will tell you this was an omnishambles. A comms blunder. A funny story for their Westminster WhatsApp groups, something to chuckle about over taxpayer-subsidized lunches. They are lying to you. The state broadcaster calls it a difficult day. The pink paper for the city frames it as a miscommunication. They are deliberately downplaying the truth because the reality is too frightening for them to contemplate and too damning for them to report. This wasn't a gaffe. This was a revelation. It was the moment the curtain was pulled back to reveal an empty stage, with terrified, second-rate actors improvising their lines. There is no one at the wheel. For days, the political class had been tormenting the public, whispering threats of a tax hike. A 2p rise in income tax, they briefed. £1,000 a year stolen from a 30-grand salary. A necessary pain, they claimed, to pay for their profligacy. Families up and down the country began to worry. Small business owners, already drowning in red tape and soaring energy bills, started reworking their budgets, wondering which employee they'd have to let go. Another squeeze. Another hit to the people who build, create, and sustain this nation. Then, at 10 o'clock at night, the signal is given. Not to the British people. Not through Parliament. But through a cowardly leak to the Financial Times, mouthpiece of the globalist elite. The plan was suddenly off. Apparently, £6 billion had been magically found by the Office for Budget Responsibility, the same unaccountable body whose forecasts are consistently, catastrophically wrong. But the story they spun was so chaotic, so riddled with contradictions, that instead of reassurance, it sowed only panic and confusion. For 11 hours, from that late-night leak until morning, the markets, the public, and the world were left to believe that the government had simply lost its mind. As traders in Tokyo and Singapore woke up, they saw a government in meltdown. That it had caved to its high-tax, high-spend instincts yet again. Chaos was snatched from the jaws of order. But here is the darker truth. Critics are now saying this wasn't mere incompetence. They are calling it a deliberate strategy of confusion, a form of domestic gaslighting. It's a technique designed to keep ordinary people permanently off balance, anxious, unable to plan their lives, and ultimately dependent on the whims of a state that despises their independence. It is designed to make you feel like you are going mad, so that you give up resisting. And this is where the betrayal becomes unforgivable. This is the two-tier system, laid bare for all to see. In one tier, you have the political class. The special advisors in Whitehall, barely out of university, earning six-figure salaries from your taxes. One was quoted, with a cynical shrug, "I would laugh if I didn't want to cry." They sip their flat whites in Portcullis House and see it as a tragic comedy, a drama playing out in their gilded cage. They see a game of headlines and briefings. They talk of rolling the wrong pitch and narrative collapse. For them, it's a career setback. A bad day at the office, smoothed over with a drink in a Westminster bar. In the other tier, there is you. There's the self-employed plumber in Bolton, who spent all night staring at his accounts, trying to figure out if he could afford to keep his 16-year-old apprentice on. He heard the news on the radio the next morning and felt not relief, but a cold, burning anger at being toyed with. There's the retired couple in Eastbourne, watching their small, hard-earned pension pot, terrified that another political blunder will evaporate the security they worked 50 years to build. There's the nurse in Stoke, finishing a brutal 12-hour shift, who heard tax rise on the news and immediately cancelled her child's swimming lessons, only to find out the next day it was all a sick joke. Think of the young couple in a rented flat in Swindon, who had just had a mortgage offer accepted. They spent the night in a state of terror, believing that dream was about to be snatched away by a tax raid they hadn't budgeted for. For them, this isn't a game. It's their life. It's the constant, grinding anxiety of living under a regime that is not just failing, but failing with open contempt for the people it governs. While they play their stupid games, you are paying the price. They treat your money like casino chips, while you face intimidating letters from HMRC if you're a day late on your tax return. An insider source recently said a cancer of the soul is rotting the government from within. But it's worse than that. That cancer is metastasizing. Its symptoms are everywhere: the potholed roads they don't drive on, the crumbling schools their children don't attend, the spiraling crime in streets they never walk down. That isn't just bad governance. It is a moral disgrace of historic proportions. And who are the villains in this national tragedy? Look no further than the decaying, hollowed-out husk of the Conservative Party. A party that has forgotten how to govern, how to lead, how to communicate, and, most importantly, how to serve. They are rudderless, at the mercy of events, turning every opportunity into a catastrophe. Insiders describe a prime minister so pallid, so lacking in authority, that his own administration is spiraling into open warfare around him. Factions brief against each other in the press like rival gangs. They reek of failure. They have sapped the will of anyone competent who remains, leaving only the sycophants and the careerists. This isn't the party of Churchill or Thatcher. This is a collection of exhausted, terrified managers, presiding over a controlled demolition of the country they swore an oath to protect. But do not for 1 second believe the alternative is a saviour. Waiting in the wings, rubbing his hands, is Keir Starmer. Sir Keir. The man who has stood for everything and nothing. The ultimate establishment creature, a knight of the realm, meticulously groomed by the very system that is failing you. The man who once demanded a second Brexit referendum now claims to make Brexit work. The man who knelt for Black Lives Matter now talks tough on national security. He is a weather vane, not a leader. He and his shadow chancellor, Rachel Reeves, a former Bank of England technocrat, are part of the very same political class, the same Davos mindset, that caused this mess. He is a creature of the North London dinner party circuit, promising only to manage our decline with more focus groups and less drama. They offer no vision. No real change. Just a different set of hands on the levers of our national decay. And where are the heroes? They are not in Parliament. The heroes are the people of this country who see through the charade. The millions in our towns and villages who are waking up, talking in pubs, in cafes, online, realizing that the entire system is broken beyond repair. And their voice, their righteous anger, is being channeled by the one man the establishment fears above all others. Nigel Farage. While the two cheeks of the same Westminster backside play their pathetic games, he and Reform UK are the only ones speaking the unforgivable truth, that both parties have betrayed us. And that only a complete and total overhaul, a political insurgency, can save us now. They are building a people's army, funded by small donations from lorry drivers and pensioners, not by shady unions or billionaire globalists. The storm is not over. This is just a tremor before the earthquake. We are told there are still days to go until the budget. Days for this omnishambles government to inflict yet more damage, to create more chaos, to deepen the despair. They have proven they cannot be trusted with a single pound of your money or a single ounce of your hope. They have shown you their contempt. Now, you must make a choice that will define the future of this island. Do you continue to place your faith in a Conservative Party that has actively demonstrated its own incompetence and moral decay? Or do you turn to Keir Starmer's Labour, a party of flip-flops and focus groups, a Trojan horse for globalist policies, promising nothing more than a smoother ride into irrelevance? Is this pathetic, insulting choice the best that Great Britain deserves? If you refuse to stay silent while they run our country into the ground. If you believe the British people deserve leaders, not just managers of our decline. If you are ready to demand a real alternative that puts our nation, our sovereignty, and our people first, then make your voice heard. Share this video. Let it be a digital flare in the darkness. Wake up your friends, your family, your colleagues. Let the failed, pampered elites in their Westminster bubble know that the people are watching. That we see their betrayal. That their game is over. And their time is up.